Hey everyone. Today we're going to talk about the leader's path to change. And I'm very, very excited about our guest. And I want to say that I'm excited because it's my 60th episode. 60.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I'm so happy with it. So I want to welcome you to this Invincible Innovation Live show. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm Mazor, Kario, Innovation Value Creation Expert, and I'll be your host. And I have a very, very special guest and friend. Hello,
Hel-
Catherine.
Hello, Adi. How are you doing? And congratulations. Yes.
Yeah, I'm so happy. So,
Thank you.
thank you for being here. Catherine Schoendorff is a certified high performance coach and the ex CEO of Mercer and a PhD student. Wow, I'm so happy to have Catherine here. And I want to tell you that other than the fact that I really appreciate her and she's like a guide for me. She's a friend, and I really, really love the fact that we're going to have a fun
Thank you.
talk together.
Thank you.
And
I mean, I'm
thank
looking forward to it.
me too. And we're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And you're so invited to join the discussion and ask questions. And now we can start. It seems that all companies need to innovate. What is the biggest obstacle to innovation as you see it?
I think that every one of us has or might have a different understanding of innovation. And I think that this is one of the biggest obstacles, and myself included. And let me tell you, from where I was and where I'm today with innovation. I recall when I stepped down from my CEO position at Mercer, I handed over some tasks to my successor, and we were talking, and I told him, and please make sure that you continue to innovate our services, meaning see how you can squeeze it in. And now that I understand a little bit more about innovation, also talking to you and with some other experts, um, today I have changed the way I'm talking about innovation, because I'm talking now about a process which makes sure to run the ideation, the testing, the validation of ideas in an efficient way. And now you have my attention as a leader, because it's not the word innovation which triggers my attention, other two words, process and efficiency. Because now I'm starting to think, okay, what does it mean? So the what, how will it happen? The how, and where shall I do that? And this changes, then it brings a little bit, it triggers the right question to bring clarity on the table. So as soon as you go out from the expert word, you can lower down the temperature and bring more clarity.
So when you're saying process, it means that you need a structured way of doing it, and then you could really execute. And without it, it's like blurry.
Well, I would say that depending on where it is, I think that, for instance, if you're working in a software company, you do have, innovation and production of coding runs in the same way. But me, for instance, from a consulting background, it means something different. And I always thought about innovation, yeah, to create a new thing. But it's if you want to really have something sustainable, which really helps a company, I don't think that you can do innovation so just on the side and just
Yeah.
squeeze it in.
And do you think that leaders really understand this importance, or they have so much on their head right now that they can't really understand it or do something with it?
I would say if I'm looking back at my days, usually they were between 13 to 16 hours. You have so many things running, and just to know that you need to bring in innovation, you tend to, okay, think about that, or maybe talk with your management team, and you hand it over. But it's then starts to sit somewhere in the organization. No one really feels um, responsible for it or doesn't get the right attention. And it means you don't put something, a process which automates, the entire innovation idea, and then everyone can put different meaning on it. So I found out that if you talk about process and efficiency, you definitely you catch the attention of the leaders, and then the leaders are thinking automatically themselves, the right questions.
Right, right. And do you think it's related to culture because you've been like in a big German corporate or not?
Well, Mercer runs internationally, and I was working in Germany and also in Switzerland. Um, no, I think it has to do. I think it's more about the word itself and the meaning that every one of us puts behind it. Because yesterday, I was looking in a French dictionary because originally I'm French, and whenever you look for the origins of the word, you go to the littré. And I
Yeah.
found a quote from 1197, which was pretty revealing to me. And now I'm going to translate it in English. It was said there, the desire and lust to innovate, change, and stir everything. So it has kind of a muddy connotation, and if you look also at the history, whenever it was about state, um, laws, and language, I mean, some centuries before, innovation was not really permitted.
Yeah.
So I don't know with what we have, I mean, as an understanding, it might be also, I, I don't think that it is necessarily a cultural thing. It is that it is presented too much as an innovation, as something new, and a leader then tells himself or herself, okay, how can I squeeze that in? But it is not putting the right focus at the right place. So if you change it in a process and efficiency, you're getting at least the attention of the leader, and then you can start talking. I mean, this is what I've noticed when also thinking about, reflecting of what I could have done better now with everything I know today. And also when talking with peers and other CEOs, I would definitely turn it into a process.
So when you're talking to these other CEOs, what is your like, this is the mistake you need to think about, or this is something you should attend to? What do you tell them?
I don't talk about mistakes. I think it is a lack of clarity. And if we talk now about innovation per se, I think that um, leaders know that innovation is required, a certain level of innovation to continue to run the business, to be attractive to in the marketplace. They know that. But interestingly, and I think it was before COVID, I don't know if it was an Accenture study. Um, they found out that only 6% of C-suite executives were happy with the innovation efforts in-house. And
Right.
it shows that they know, I mean, they know that it is not working, but it is a big, it's like a Pandora box. So
Yeah.
if you just come with the innovation topic, it kind of, yeah, I mean, I have the other things that I need to be looking at, and it gets forgotten. And so I would really, really put clarity around the topic and what it requires. Would it be from a financing perspective, from the skills that you need, you know, and and also the metrics, because they're different. And so the more you bring clarity around on how you can embed innovation per se into your organizational structure, the better it will be. I don't think it has necessarily to do with a culture thing. Today, everyone knows that you better do
Yeah.
something, on renewing, refreshing, bringing new services, new products, else you will be, swept out of the marketplace very quickly.
Yeah. Do you think it's changed due to COVID, where everything changed so fast, or not? Maybe they went to the other side saying, like, let's freeze for a minute and see what's going on.
Well, I think that this is I've heard it also from people that I know from the banking area, and where they are lending money to corporations or to existing companies. I know, or I can think, or I think to know from where it comes from. Because COVID has, for most of the companies, it has been a burden. And how do you get out of this crisis and start again? And so the first reflexes are, okay, so let's freeze everything, which is not, day-to-day operations. And most of the time it comes from finances, and they're saying, okay, freeze the hirings, but you cannot freeze an innovation process, an innovation structure, because with the innovation, you are out on the market, you're out with your partners, with your teams. So if you freeze that, you cannot start it again, because your reputation will be, you will have lost some credibility. So uh, I think it is not a good thing to stop it. I think it would be better than to look at the daily operations, where you can here do some sacrifices so that you can continue with the innovation, because at the end it also contributes to the longevity of your business.
And how do you think that when a leader thinks about the short run and the long run, they have the quarterly review, and they need to take care about the revenues right now, and they need to think about what would be 2 or maybe 3 years from now, and it's sometimes contradicting. So how do they do this, like, two um, different opposite sides?
I think, if I got gray hair, it's because of this. you know it's like it's a game. It's something which is not a comfortable place to be at. On the other side, it has to do with growth, sustainable growth. So, and for me, sustainable growth is around, without increasing now, financials, um, looking at how to get some additional financing. It is about to build it around client centricity. And for me, you cannot build client centricity if you're only thinking about your customer, your client experience journey. It's also about thinking ahead. It's also about anticipating what will come, what will happen in the marketplace. And especially nowadays, you do not know where all suddenly you might face a new competitor, or someone, a partner with whom you could link up and work together. You don't know it. So I think that 3 to 5 year strategies are becoming more or less obsolete. It's good to have them to know in which directions you're heading, but you need to revise them constantly. I would even say in a rhythm of 6 months, the least, just to see what is going on, in the marketplace, to know, to really work on what is called the leading indicators. And And if I may tell a personal story for that,
Sure.
my father has been a pilot and was a pilot, and in the 70s, the military and the commercial flight space was the same, and the fact of anticipating was something which saved my father's life many times, especially when flying in clouds. And he was always, looking around if he could spot a shadow, because then he knew, "Oh, there might be, another plane coming, hitting or flying towards you." So it was about steering, the plane to the other direction. Good for him. Both sides did had the
Yeah,
right,
good for
you
the
know,
other part.
absolutely. Um, and I grew up in this. I grew up in this mantra of anticipation, and I recall my father telling me already as a child, "Gatti, anticipate." When I was driving, "Gatti, anticipate," and it gave me the reflex of, anticipating everything. And it's kind of fatigue. I mean, it is exhausting, but you have your antennas and your ears, which which need to be open all the time to know what is happening. And my background, I have been always called to either bring out companies out of a mess, or a messy situation. And the when you step in such a mandate, or in a company, who or which is in a delicate place, you look at the current indicators, the past indicators, the lagging ones, but they're giving you some hints about why they're in not so good place. But the first thing you need really to look at are the leading indicators, because they're giving you the opportunity to steer out, like the plane, to steer the company or the business, instead of flying downwards or falling, but to steer it in another direction. And I think that with regard to that, strategy and short-term thinking need to be aligned all the time, and you need to correct them nowadays. Long answer
Yeah.
to a short question.
I love the story about your father in flying in the clouds, and to remind me of my father. He was a military person for a few, like half of his career, I know, maybe less. And he always told me, be careful. When I opened the closet in the kitchen, he said it could hurt your eye or something. He always
Mhm.
was very anxious about that. So it reminds me that we always, like, all the kids are laughing, like, yeah, it will hurt your eye when you open a closet. It's so
But they
funny.
are, I mean, our parents in a certain way. I mean, I must say I'm very grateful to my father, and I know it. I mean, having seen him, I think the the incident which made him really, where he came at home with straight hair on his head, which I've never seen before with him, when the tower, it was, I think, in Madrid, made an error and placed two arriving planes at the same point, only the altitudes were different. And so the
Wow.
tower was only seeing one point, and they really hit in the air with their plane with a 747. And for
Wow.
God's sake, I mean, the pilots had the right, reactions. My father was underneath and had still, the ability to steer down and to land safely. But, I think that with this in the background, you never know where the danger the danger opportunities will come from. And this is also the beauty, because when you work around client centricity, um, it is, as a leader, it is for you the ability also to test how far you can stretch your products and services, the skills in your company, but also the structure of the company, if you want to be really client centric, can you continue to operate as you are today, or do you need to adapt something? And this is where I think leaders, even though getting gray hair, it comes with the, with the responsibility. It has a very much an entrepreneurial thinking, and you need to act quickly, and therefore clarity in everything you do is really important, and also always to trigger the right button with a leader, because then they start thinking, it's like an automatism which pops out, and
Mm,
then where you can then start having the discussions on how you can do it.
right, right. So I want to talk to you about being a successful woman in a corporate. So let's say that a young woman comes to you and talks to you about her career. And what would you teach her about business, about what she has to know when she starts her way there?
Mhm. Um, I love doing that, and some of my clients are even former employees of mine,
Yeah.
and some others are, coming back, and I as working with me as a coach, and I have even um, on a regular basis, I have even one former employee of mine who still comes back to me. I mean, recently, 15 years after. So it is beautiful to see that there is a trust relationship, and where they really talk to me very openly, and where we are walking we're walking through the topics which are relevant to them. But what I would say, especially with women, is know your value, claim it, and just be bold to ask your seat at the decision table. And I'm currently working on an online course that I want to offer to women, because it really saddens me when I hear accomplished women who have managerial roles still waiting for someone in the organization to recognize their value. And I think that this is, and it happened also to me. Dedication is good, but it will lead you nowhere when it comes to a career. Um, and if you as a woman, you do not have the perspective of building and constructing your career, and you only be being dedicated, even with great work that you're doing and producing, also maybe together with your teams, despite the result, your efforts will be considered as a job, and a job always is a commodity. So whenever you can, break out of the job thing, build your career, because then it will allow others, and especially leaders, to see, I mean, what is the value that you're bringing. And then, and some men, lovely men colleagues who are passing you by, left and right, and getting promoted, and you sitting still, on the side of the road. Well, I mean, young women and also older ones, just do something about it, because there are tactics and strategies, to avoid this frustration.
Yeah, I love what you said about them waiting for an approval from the outside, someone who is like telling them, "Yeah, you are you need to take this role," instead of
Yes,
claiming it. Because I think that women are very aimed of being pleasers sometimes, and
yes,
being very tuned to what other people say and what they decide, or what, like, really giving them the credits. And
oh,
sometimes,
yes,
you just need to understand that it's like they're really good leaders and they're doing their job, but you're not less of an option that they are. They are human, they're doing mistakes, and you could claim your own right to do these mistakes as well. Nobody's perfect, right? When they take a managerial or a C-level position, it's not like, yeah, they're like the perfect person, and now you need to be one like that, right? Oh, I don't hear you, Catherine. Something about the internet is not working. Let's wait for a few minutes. I hope that she comes back. Let's see. I'll do that. So I want to tell you a small story about Catherine until she comes back. I don't know how I met Catherine, and we started talking, and it was like, wow, like first time I saw her, I said like, she's really cool, and she understands what she's saying, and she's so open, and it's like, yeah, she's really interesting. I didn't really thought that this is what she's doing. So after I talked to her, I went to her LinkedIn, and I found out that she was the ex-CEO of Mercer, which is a really big corporate. And I said, like, that's not how I imagine this kind of a like a leader or a CEO. And I really appreciate. Oh, I see she's back, and I really appreciate her work and what she's been doing. So I really love her what she's saying. Hey,
So
we're
you
back.
can you hear me from my cell phone, because I think we do have street work being done outside, and I
Mm,
don't know if they did something with the can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, excellent. So
Sure. So I see you, like the video is a bit stuck, but I hear you well. Could you go
okay,
back to the computer, or we
um
could
I don't know, let me see, and I'm sorry
see?
to do
No, it's
that.
just fine.
Please.
It's
um
just fine. Things happen.
okay, so I
Sure.
should be back. Let me leave here.
Sure. Sure. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Do you hear me now? I don't hear you. It's not working. It's always the technology that comes in the middle, right? Okay. I hope that the podcast listener will be like patient with me in that time at least, but we'll continue really shortly. So it's a great way to just to
Should
see
be
that,
working now.
yeah, like in
Yes.
real life, this what's really
Yes.
happening usually, for sure. I just told them that, that after that we talked the first time, I went to your LinkedIn, and I was like, wow, she's like really a serious person. And and I was surprised. Wow, CEO of Mercer. And now Mercer is a big company. Like, wow.
Right.
And for me it was surprising the way that you're like so upfront and sincere and human and fun and funny.
Well,
Because
thank
when you
you.
imagine, the CEO of a company, it's like different.
Well, I think that that is interesting that you're saying that. I think that um, first, the I must say the colleagues at Mercer, and also I'm also talking about the other CEOs, because I mean, for either every region or country you had different CEOs. The working relationship with our global CEO, the former one Julio Portalatin, or now Martin Furland, has been always a joy, and we were all very closely working together. So the human side has always prevailed, and I must say that is really, really, really excellent. The only thing which makes me maybe a little bit different is that sometimes, especially, I mean, men as well as women, when you step into such a role, especially in a very large international corporation, because you know of the liability which is there also, you as a CEO, and from a governance and compliance perspective, you become kind of, prudent in what you're saying. And but I never, I am very, I mean, I was really looking at what I was saying, but I want to have fun and joy. And I want to have that also with the people I'm working with. And so I think that I remained in a certain way, kind of, people were wondering in Switzerland, and she's smiling all the time. And I heard that from one of my team member reporting that to me. Is that real? And I was, laughing, and I was thinking, Jesus, I mean, if you need to be serious, to be all the time, to be efficient, I think I have enough credentials and also my results. I know what I can do, what I have delivered so far, and so I don't have to prove anything. So I mean, I just allow myself to be who I am.
Yeah. But when you don't have the credentials yet, it's kind of hard.
It might be hard on the other side. We women, we are so, I'm talking now specifically about women. I don't say that men aren't that. But, when we talk now about women, and that is fascinating because Mercer has since many years a global study that they're doing with their clients, and it's called "When Women Thrive, Businesses Thrive," and it is kind of interesting. We know exactly where we're losing in the companies, the women. We exactly know what needs to be done, and still, we're losing the women, we are losing them. And so it is, and we know that all of them are very dedicated to their job. But we are mostly, if you're looking at the constitution of or the network of a woman compared to the one of a man in general, women tend to have peers within the organization with whom they are having reports and this sharing and discussing what could be, leverage, what could be done here. When men have a more opportunistic way, and in a positive way, opportunistic way, they look more outside and outside of the company, so that whenever they have a question, they know where to get some also outside information. When we want, that the harmony, with the family, and often the work is also an extension of the family. And I think that you can keep that spirit because it's really important, because it's often, I mean, women have a different leadership style than men, and please continue to do that. Because it's what is the glue often within a company, what makes it, that it is warm-hearted, that people feel well, I mean, not only internally, but also with clients. The only thing is you need to think about, or you need to know how you need to, or you should react if all of a sudden, let's say during a meeting, you're exposing, and not exposing, but you're explaining your idea and everything says yes. And then you have a colleague, usually a male colleague, taking on your idea, boldly sharing it as if it was his, and getting then the credit for it.
Sure.
And these are the things, there are tactics on how to make sure that you just nailing, your colleague, so that you can continue to carry the credit and get forward. So
Yeah.
this is where, I mean, with credential or not, you and women know nowadays, they know very well how to build credential in a fast way. They usually do.
So where do we miss them? Where do we lose these women? Why don't we have more of them?
We lose them mostly in the mid management level, either because of what I just said, the frustration, that they're not being heard or being recognized, and not knowing how to do it. And I have been myself in such a position for many years. Therefore, I'm really also grateful that with Mercer, I came to Mercer and I was pretty frustrated, because I cleaned up a situation there and I didn't get to the partner level. And I remember that Martin Furland, one day we were talking about young men asking, young colleagues asking to become partners. And I was saying to her, that's a little bit bold. And she laughed and she told me, Catherine, I must correct you. The first time you and we spoke, you said to me, I want to become a partner. so, so we both laughed, but it shows exactly, where we are losing most women. It's about being bold, about asking what they want. It's also about the responsibility of a leader. And Julio Portalatin has been fantastic for that. I recall him when coming over to Germany and speaking to the DACH region, meaning Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. And we were all the leaders sitting in the room. He said, okay, how many women do you want to hire in the leadership team? Well, we're looking, we have certain candidates. So how many women do you want to hire? Well, we need to see, there are men candidates. And he said, he turned around, he looked at every one of us and he said, it is your responsibility to bring at least 2 to 3 women every year to the table, decision table. And I don't want to hear if it's okay, yes or no. If you have difficulties to find them, you have to find them and you have to make it happen. And I must say, I have the utmost respect for this person, for this man, because he has been also the one, bringing and helping and supporting Martine to be where she is today. And I think also, and Martine Furland always says this, I think that she has 3 kids. And when she had a pretty interesting role and consulting responsibility at Willis Towers Watson at that time, I think it was Watson Towers, early back then, she went on maternity leave and it was her boss who called her back and said, no, you're coming back. So we are losing also women because then they are going into maternity leave, want to be there for the kids, and the employers are not doing enough to really, like with this former boss of Martine Furland, to call them back, to say, no, you have your kids, yes, but it doesn't matter. We need you. We want you. If you're mother of small kids or not, we'll help you. And I think that this is something I've done all my time. Even though I personally, myself, I don't have kids. I think it is really important to help women also in part-time jobs, and as well as giving the ability to women working in part-time, also to giving them the ability to become managers and leaders. And this is maybe, if I have a regret, I have been too conservative back then with regard to that.
Yeah, I totally understand, because we need to understand what is really preventing them from doing that step. And
Yes.
sometimes it's something so practical. Sometimes, like in Israel, we have lots of traffic. And the fact that all the centers are in Tel Aviv and most people don't have the ability to live in Tel Aviv, So the traffic is like 2 or 3 hours a day, just moving
Yes.
from one place to the other, and being more flexible or doing something online and partly in the office, or having more spreaded offices or something, just to understand what is really bothering these women. And they're very talented and smart.
Hmm.
And if the corporate is proactive, and they need to do something, because just blaming the women for not being with not taking their part is just half of the equation, because the men, which are currently leading these companies, need to take responsibility too. And
Yes.
they want a different world for their wives and their daughters, and they want to get there. And if it's like it's proven that it's good for business, there is no other way to do it.
Well, it is proven, and Forbes just published yesterday their series of 50 over 50, 50, so women who have created either um, corporations, are in politics and are successful with over being over 50s. And I think that, and I'm also over 50, I think that it is so. Um, we ask the younger generation to show them, yes, it can be done, and we are there to help you, we are there to support you. But you mentioned something which is really important. If there is one advice I can give to any woman, if a, a company doesn't accept you being a mother and working part-time, and especially now, still in COVID, but now slowly going, after the COVID time, we will be looking anyway as employers, to the work, or the way of working, and mostly it will go towards 2 to 3 days at work and two from home. So, I think that the way we have approached working, or the physical presence at the office, will change dramatically now. I mean, as soon as we are going to step back into some kind of new normalcy, and but a company which doesn't respect you as a young mother and doesn't facilitate you, I mean, especially leaders who do not support you, please just move on. I mean, don't stay there. You will never get anything from them.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, because like it needs to you need to understand that you have the right to do it. It's not like they are doing me a favor. It's like, no, you're so important and you're contributing and you have you're bringing value to the company.
Mhm.
So
Right,
it's they're
right.
not doing any favor. They
Yes,
need to do it. If they want to be
yes.
successful, they need to do it.
And fight. I mean, fight and demand it. You can do it in a charming way, in a smiling way, and very collaborative way, but let the other know. Because it's an energy thing. If you're always retracted and you're waiting for the recognition or the permission to do that, it means that you're leaving the space for others to bring you along where they want. And I'm having here, um, I'm using often the a picture for that. I used to ask, or still I still do that. Is I'm asking people: Are you sitting in the passenger seat or in the driver's seat of your life or your career? Because it happens that we're driving and all of a sudden, boom, I'm in the passenger seat, because and then you just switch over again, because whenever the driver's seat is being occupied by someone else, they will drive you where they want to go. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there is this is a law. I mean, you cannot change it. So I mean, your obligation and your awareness is, always to look at, okay, where am I sitting, driver or passenger? And
Yeah.
this is, yeah.
That's a great tip for life in general. Just taking what you want to you want to get somewhere, just go there. You don't
Yes.
wait for anyone else to do it
Hmm.
for you. So I want to thank you for your time. It's been such a pleasure talking to you,
Thank
and
you.
always fun talking to you. So thank you. And
Thank you so much.
where could people find you? I'll do this so people would like have the ability to
I
And
would say, I mean, the easiest thing is go on LinkedIn. You find there my phone number, cell phone number on the information. You can send me an email, or you do have also here my email address. You find everything on LinkedIn. So,
yeah,
and it's also the place where I have most of the exchanges anyway.
yeah. So it's been always like is always fun, and I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you for
And
having me.
and to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining me. And if you want to learn more about my work, you could visit invincibleinnovation.com. And I'll see you next week with another insightful, innovative talk. See ya.
See you. Bye bye.